Pre-operational. So here we're going to start to represent things with words, and they will come quite abundantly at this point. But you still lack logical reasoning. So again, this whole idea of what we call egocentrism. And egocentrism here, I'd mentioned this probably in the first class when we talked about the various theories. Egocentrism is linked to what we call theory of mind. And that is the idea that other people may have different view than you. Now, at a very basic level, the view is literal, that if I'm looking at something, you see it too. So this explains, again, why children can walk in front of TVs, middle of a movie, and everybody's watching, you know, this movie, and the child will just walk up and stand in front of the screen, right? And not realize that other people can't see, because I'm here, I can see it, so you must be able to see it too, right? So again, this is egocentrism, not a selfish thing, but meaning that everything that I see or that I experience, so do you. And children at this age, if they get a phone call to the house and the parent says, you know, do you want to talk to daddy or whatever, so they get on the phone, hi daddy, and he'll ask, you know, the question, the child is nodding up and down, right? Instead of saying yes or no. Because if they're nodding up and down, you must understand that I'm nodding because I'm doing it. Even to the point where one kid was asked about his dream. Mommy, I had a dream about you last night. Oh, what was I doing? Well, you should know, you were there, right? So again, totally egocentric about everything that they see. So there's a classic task called the Three Mountain Test. And the Three Mountain Test is basically having a child at this stage sit on one side of a table, and they're actually shown these three cones, or where I get this name, the Three Mountain Test. And there's somebody else on the other side, right, usually the researcher. And the researcher will ask the child, what do you see? And the child will then say what they see. Then the researcher asks the critical question, what do I see? And of course the child will start to, you know, relate exactly what they are looking at. Not aware that if you're on the other side, you're going to have a different view of this, right? So I do have a clip of the Three Mountains Test that I'm going to show you. I think this kid is pretty loud, so bear with it. He gets kind of excited, this kid.
Can you tell me what you see when you look at that from where you're sitting? What are some of the things that you see?
And a cat.
A cat.
And a tree and a bone.
Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. Can you tell me what you see when you look at it from that stool?
An owl.
An owl?
And him.
What is that?
A goat.
A goat?
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else you see?
Yeah, right there.
Right there, what is that?
A tree.
A tree.
And that's another little tree.
Another little tree?
Yeah, right.
Okay. And can you tell me what I see when I look at this from where I'm sitting right here?
An owl.
Okay.
And a goat.
Mm-hmm.
And a little tree. And that. And that.
Okay, so can you tell me what you see from that side?
A fox and a bone and a volcano and a rock and a big fat Christmas tree.
Now, Braxton, can you tell me what I see from where I'm sitting?
A bird and a river and a volcano and a horsey and a rock and a plant.
Child says that right there, and this here, and him, right? Not even naming what the things are, but assuming that you know what they are because it's right there. So again, egocentrism. So this is one of the milestones of this age period, is actually to understand that other people have a different view of the world, literally, like physically, and also mentally. And that takes a while, this theory of mind, that people can have a different mental representation or opinion, or can make a wrong choice, right? Even though you have the correct information, somebody else may not. There's a classic study, I may show it to you next class. I don't think I have it on this clip. but it is a child being shown a box of crayons. And they say, what do you see in this box? And the child says, well, what do you think is in this box? The child says, oh, there's crayons in this box, right? And then the child opens up and there's candles in the crayon box. And they're surprised, or I thought they were crayons because it's a crayon box. So then they bring in a little Snoopy doll and they say, okay, Snoopy's going to come in. What do you think Snoopy thinks is in the box? And of course she says candles, right? Because she knows there's candles in there, so Snoopy will also think that there's candles in there, not realizing that Snoopy is going to think that there's crayons. So again, this egocentrism is still there for mental representations, even when the physical part develops. Here's an egocentric conversation with two children. Have you ever listened to two children talk? This is a way that they... kind of like some adults, I might add, and some relationships might have these kinds of conversations. So if you're having a conversation and your partner is not listening to you and just going through their own thing, you might say, you're stuck in the, the pre-operational Piaget stage, and you say, what? You say, go look it up, right? And he'll realize that, or she is in the 2 to 6 year old mental age bracket, which might bring on something worse than the egocentric conversation. In any event, there it is. So here is, again, one of the major issues here in this pre-operational stage, as I mentioned before, is they are pre-operational. They can't perform operations on objects to understand, in this case, what we call conservation. Conservation means that you are conserving some dimension of the object. In this case, it's liquid quantity. Down here it would be number. Here it's mass. So by conserving, we mean that you are hanging on to or centrating, focusing on only one aspect of the object and not being able to understand other dimensions, okay? So I'm going to be showing you the clip of these, but here's the idea. You have two pitchers of water here, and the child actually sees that they are the same, right? And then you pour one of them into a taller glass, and you ask the child, does one have the same, or do they have the same amount of water, or does one have more? And children during this stage will usually say that this one has more, because they are centrating, or I should say conserving, here the idea that size is more important. So they're unable to hold on to, in this case, quantity, right? They can't conserve it or retain it, if you will. Here is conservation of number. So if you show a child 2 rows, in this case it's chips, and then you just take one row and you spread it out, the bottom row in this case, you spread it out, and then you say which one has more. This one have more, or this one have more. And the child will say that this one has more. Even though they didn't see you take any away or add any, it looks bigger. So again, they're unable to conserve number, right? And again, the other one here is mass. So you have 2 balls of clay, identical. You just take one and roll it. The child sees you do this. Roll it out, stretch it. Which one has more? And of course, they will think that, this one has more because it's longer. So they can't take into account mass remains unchanged. So conservation means that you're unable to conserve some dimension of the object. In this case, it's liquid. Here it's a number, and here it's mass. All right? I'm going to actually show you maybe I'll just do this slide first, then I'll show you the other one because it's actually got to do with conservation. So during this stage as well, children are able to now use what we call symbolic function. And symbolic function is just having one thing stand for another. So they may be able to use one thing in the place of another. So they're able to, again, use a stick to become a guitar, or they ride around on a broom, to be a witch, or that's their vehicle, or one thing. They're using props at this point, right? So again, this is one of the things that's going to emerge. Deferred imitation of a model observed in the past, and again, this is showing that they're having a mental trace of some type of a behavior. So initially, when a child is, leaving, and there's somebody waving, wave bye-bye, the child will wave, right? They'll wave when they model you. They actually imitate what you're doing. But what this refers to, deferred imitation, is that you're deferring this. You're able to reproduce it in the absence of a model showing you the behavior. So now maybe you've learned to wave bye-bye, and you don't have to have somebody else do it and then you imitate. You're actually now waving bye-bye on your own, right? So it shows that you have learned. You have actually imitated this mentally. You've stored a mental representation of this behavior. It's not just imitation, it's deferred. Make sense? Okay? So you're able to do this. Symbolic play. Now, I should point out that these seem to be a little bit the same here, symbolic play and symbolic function. The difference here is symbolic ability really is, how can I put this? One of the, symbolic function is the ability to, here you have a prop. So now you're using one thing to stand for another, right, in play. But in symbolic function, it's more about being able to use things in the absence of props. So sometimes little girls will have a tea party, but they don't have anything to use. So they'll pretend that they're drinking tea, right? Or the actual play is imaginative, and it might take more of a sequence of events. So rather than just drinking tea, you have a whole thing of pouring the tea, having the people sit around, giving them dessert, mommy and daddy coming home, right? All this kind of stuff is now a kind of a sequence of mental ideas. So the representation is more, we say, functional, right? They're actually using some kind of a complex activity mentally, and there may be no props at all. So again, using a pretend teacup, or talking on the phone, and there is no phone, right? Just pretending. Whereas here, you'd have to have something, right? A banana, or a bottle, or something to be a phone. Here, it's a little bit more complex. So this is going to emerge during the pre-operational period. So highly mental ability is becoming much more developed during this period. Now, what they can do, I've mentioned that they cannot conserve quantity, number, or mass, but they're able to understand qualitative identity. What do you think it means? That the nature of something remains unchanged, but the quantity they can't hang on to. So what do you think qualitative identity means? Yeah. Exactly. So going back here, qualitative identity means even though they may think that this is more, they still know they're both water. Here they still know that they're both chips. Here they know that they're still clay. So the quality of the object, they understand that, they get that. What they don't get is the quantity, meaning number, mass, or volume. Okay. So here is a classic task, and I'm going to show this to you because I can stand up here and talk all day, and you can read it in the book, but to see it is really much better.